London evening. As you can see, it's a gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous evening. And I want to just share with you some thoughts tonight on short-term pain versus long-term gain and the power of sacrifice. You know, a friend of mine, she has a wonderful saying, and you may have heard this. Short-term sacrifice for a lifetime in paradise. Short-term sacrifice for a lifetime in paradise. Now, I'm not sure if we'll get a lifetime in paradise, but what I do want to share is the power of sacrifice and how we can learn to tolerate short-term pain to get longer-term gain. And I want to draw back to an analogy in the Bhagavad Gita, the ancient 5,500-year-old scriptures of India. The Bhagavad Gita talks about two words in Sanskrit, the world's oldest language, Shreya and Preya. Shreya is long-term gain. Preya is short-term pleasure. So, Shreya, long-term gain, long-term rewards, versus Preya, short-term pleasure. And the ancient wise ones, the prophets, the great ones, always encouraged man, woman, mankind to embrace long-term gain by enduring some short-term pain. But we live in a culture and a society which has encouraged us to numb our pain down, to experience as much pleasure, to cram as much pleasure as we can, to run away from pain, cram the pleasure, get a little bit of happiness, get that dopamine hit. But we forget the long-term consequences of that, and we often end up having a long-term, very bad outcome. We suffer in the long term because we've made bad decisions in the short term. How many of us have done that in relationships, right? In relationships, in finance, in business decisions, in career decisions, in the house that we live in, right? In the purchases that we make, in the friends that we keep, in our sexual relationships, right? The list goes on and on. We've made, so many of us, I know I have, so many of us have we not made mistakes by ignoring the long-term consequences and the long-term gains by focusing on the short-term pleasure or the hit or the fixed. And the thing is, our minds trick us into thinking that what we're getting is the ultimate thing, but it's not. What we're getting is just a flicker of pleasure. We're getting a flicker of pleasure, and we're taking that to be happiness, and it's not. It's just what it is. It's just a flicker of pleasure. It's a flickering moment, a fleeting moment, a second, an hour, a minute, or a few weeks or a few months of pleasure at the most. But actually, long term, the consequences on our body, on our mind, on our emotions, on our career, on our relationships, it pays its toll. And therefore, I guess my message is, it's time to get some perspective. You know, I'm getting some perspective here, as you can see. What a great place, huh? Look at this. It's a beautiful cricket ground in northwest London. Maybe it's time, right, to get some perspective. Maybe we need to reevaluate the things that we have on our plate and look at them in the context of whether the things that we have on our plate, in our life, in our career, in our relationships, in our spirituality, in the way we deal with other people, in our health, could we be chasing short-term solutions or short-term fixes to get happy, real stuff, to avoid the pain, at the cost of longer-term results, at the cost of longer-term gains? Could we be doing that without realizing it? Could we be ignoring the longer-term gains because of those things? And what can we do? Shift the perspective. Maybe we need to start looking and seeing, okay, actually, I will endure the short-term pain for longer-term things. It could be for fitness, right? You endure some extra walking, waking up earlier, getting some walking. It could be your finances. Maybe you save and you don't spend as much. You save a little bit more so you can have more later, right? These are simple examples. But maybe it's delayed gratification in other areas. And that's a fantastic topic in itself. I think delayed gratification, the ability to be able to delay the gratification, the joy, the experience, the high that you'll get for the short-term sacrifice that you make for a higher purpose. You know, we've all done it with exams, right? Some of us have studied really hard in our careers to get to the position that we are. We sacrifice so much in order to get to where we are today. So we know that sacrificing short-term pleasures can result and yield good long-term results, but we often forget and we're tricked by the mind into focusing on what's here and now. So I say to you, whatever you have that you think is causing you pain, and you want to run away from, consider that that might be your friend. Consider that you might want to embrace it. And the thing that might be giving you pleasure might give you suffering in the end. And there's actually in the Vedas, in the ancient scriptures of India again, it says, that which is pleasurable in the beginning turns to poison, and that which tastes like poison or bitter in the moment can turn to pleasure long term. I'll leave that with you. Leave your thoughts, and of course, as always, check out the podcast for more wisdom like this. There are so many episodes where we are covering wisdom like this in life, in work, in career, in relationships, and spirituality. Urban Spirituality on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, YouTube, of course. Check out the podcast and the YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, follow, share, and let's spread this wisdom together.